this is I would say a bit of a pie in the sky kind of question, but I think also a hard question, something that I was thinking about earlier today, which is that in procurement, how do you know if you're getting a good price from suppliers or getting a fair price? And I think, because if you are getting a fair price or a good price, that's a time to let sleeping dogs lay or just thank your suppliers and say, thank you for being good to us. And then there's times where the price isn't right. And then, of course, it's incumbent to go create some kind of competitive pressure, negotiate, bring more data to the table, dangle the preferred supplier opportunity for new programs, all of the different strategies that are involved. So I guess the question bearing the lead a little bit is, how do you know if you're getting a good price in procurement, in direct materials?
There's a variety of different things. Old school was just simply benchmarking, like you take it out to market, you test the market. Now that can always be questionable as well, because if you're doing something that's highly specified or has some nebulous specs around it. And I don't mean nebulous as though it's not spec'd well, but our cosmetics, everybody thinks they can do our cosmetics until they try to do our cosmetics because it's very hard. When we first came in, a lot of people refer to our die casts as jewelry. They had to be that precise because, yet again, a microphone here is on camera. Well, if you're talking about Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl coming up here, that thing needs to look great, right? It can't have that little ding mark or whatever. You want to make sure that it's pristine. Well, die casts are hard to do it like that. So that's one way, obviously, is going through the benchmarking aspect of it. But we also take the benchmarking aspect of it, and here's a plug for your tool a little bit. We were doing should cost modeling as best we could prior to LightSource coming on. But with the LightSource tool and how deep we can get into it and how efficiently we can get into it with our suppliers, that helps us benchmark that at a more granular level to determine, okay, is this really in line with what market conditions should be? Now, even to your point, if you're getting a fair price from a supplier, Shure's motto, and we stand by this, is you need to make money as a supplier. Otherwise, there's no reason that you're going to want to service us. It's not good for our relationship if you're throwing money out the door. We're not going to we want what we want. And even if you get what you want in the short term, eventually you're going to be out of business. Makes no sense, but it's got to be cost competitive. But as we're going through and we identify a fair price, assuming we don't touch somebody's margin, as long as it's reasonable, mind you, we can identify cost buckets in there where maybe the machining on a part is out of line for whatever reason. Maybe the setup cost, maybe it's the time, maybe it's the overhead. If you can identify that and have that data-driven conversation with a supplier, that's a win-win for both of you guys. Because A, we can start driving our costs down yet again without touching their margin. B, if they start driving those costs down, maybe one of two things. Maybe all their other customers aren't as savvy as hold the same prices, garner an increased profit, or they can lower the prices somewhat and attract more business.
Right. Absolutely. It's funny. We would do the same. We would have that same sort of mindset for the most part at Tesla. But the challenge was that sometimes, even if we were saying 15% is a fair margin for this commodity, it was still that if you reduce the overall cost, you're still eroding the margin dollars. And so how often do you find yourself saying, hey, look, we're going to protect the margin percentage versus we're going to protect the absolute dollar amount?
Price point of the product, I think it's a case-by-case basis.